How's it going out there, internet? For those of you who are wondering where the hell I've been, is he dead? Has he been replaced by a Russian bot? Did he get raped in an alleyway and thrown in a dumpster fire? For those of you that follow me on Twitter, you know full well that I am not dead. I have not been, well, I'm not going to say I haven't been raped, but I haven't been thrown in a dumpster fire. I really haven't been raped. That's besides the point. But for those of you that don't know me in any form of social media outside of my YouTube channel, I have been absent for what feels like a while. I do think the last time I uploaded was either the end of December or the beginning of January, and I did say back then I was going to start trying to upload more, but long story short, life got in the way, my computer shit the bed, and yeah, and I'm coming to you today in avatar form because on top of all that other shit, there's more on that in a second. But on top of all that shit, I dropped my camera and broke it. So until I get my camera either replaced or fixed, you're going to be seeing a lot more of my avatar and a lot less of my face. Although, to be fair, I'm fairly certain that I'm not allowed to show my face in public. You know, court order and all. Anyway, life being what it is, I moved out of my old place. I moved into another place. I have internet again finally, so I should be able to upload far more regularly than I have been, which, you know, far more regularly than not at all isn't really much of an achievement, but hey, give me some credit here. I'm doing this for free, all right? But anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of an off-the-cuff video today, but I'm not in the usual sense where I pick 3 or more topics and go over each topic in a brief, satirical way. I'm going to talk about one specific topic that is probably going to encompass and lead me off on tangents and rants. So I'm just going to consider this an off-the-cuff video just for the sheer sake of sincerity and simplicity. But without further ado, let's get on with this shit show. And for those of you unaware, Trump ran a certain narrative during his run for the presidency, and he has continued this narrative after he won the election during his presidency, and even up until now, where it's actually starting to come to more of a head. This topic being China.
China.
And more specifically, their more or less untested and unmatched market in the U.S. You could say like Taiwan and Japan kind of have competition with them, but not really. With so few countries being able to sell products at a lower price than them, because let's be honest here, they have far less restrictive laws on manufacturing than we do here in the States and in other developed countries. You see, the party members in the communist system don't care if the worker bees are swimming around in toxic chemicals and breathing toxic fumes, so long as that pool of heavy metals and that thick smog doesn't make it to the party members' areas or their lungs, because fuck the people, woo communism. But regardless, this video is not going to be about communism. God knows I've beaten that dead horse enough. This topic is more or less overshadowed by other topics. And of course, you have the 2 idiotic extremes of the political spectrum dancing along to their own Pied Pipers. You have the lefty NPCs getting triggered over literally anything that Trump does or says. And then you have members of the alt-right bending over backwards to suck off their Jew-hating NPC overlords. So neither of these two seem to have a vested interest in the legitimate issues that arise with Trump, more or less concerned with their own individual perception of the man, with the NPC left thinking that he's literally Hitler, and kind of ironically, the alt-right thinking that he's a subservient of the Jew overlords. But that's a topic for another time. Meanwhile, you have us more economic-minded people, from libertarians all the way to ANCAPs, see the simple issue with the topics of tariffs. Even while the right is applauding Trump with their false sense of superiority looking through the conservative colored glasses, they see the tariffs being levied upon the Chinese manufacturer, and that being a good thing, and essentially trying to fix our broken economy. You know, we need to save U.S. jobs, yeah, rah, etc., etc., etc. But you see, the issue is that the manufacturer doesn't eat the cost. No manufacturer does. This is the reason why anybody that is even remotely libertarian, like conservatarians, most of them will tell you that taxation is not a good thing, because eventually the taxation is going to trickle down to the person that actually buys the product. The company is not going to eat the cost. It's just the way that it works. the people in the U.S., the consumers in the U.S. do, which essentially levies what it is. In this case, the tariff essentially levels another tax on the product for the people of the United States. And we all know how we feel about taxes around here.
All of human history, there has never been an example of a country that has taxed and spent its way into prosperity.
And I'm sure some out there will ask, in fairness, how I came to this conclusion. You know, what is my train of thought? After all, the manufacturer has to pay the tariff, the people don't. Well, I'm going to tell you and explain it with a simple economic equation. Imagine, if you will, hypothetically speaking, you have a shovel made in the U.S. by a United States manufacturer. It costs $20. Just for the sake of simplicity here, you have a shovel, and you have a shovel made in China.
China.
And it costs $15 before tariffs. Okay, now apply a $4 tariff to the Chinese shovel. When you buy that shovel at the store, the manufacturer will jack up the price to at least cover the cost of the tariff, essentially making, or especially since in this case it will still cost less than the shovel that is made in the United States. And let's be honest, you're some people, in order to get the drive out of some people to buy a product, all you have to do is simply make it cost less than your competitor. People don't look at where it's made 9 times out of 10, which is a topic I will get to in a minute. However, with that shovel, no, that $4 tariff now making the $4 jacking, the manufacturer pays the $4 tariff, jacks the cost of the shovel up to $19. You still buy the shovel because it's $19, and the American shovel is $20. And hey, 19 is smaller than 20. It doesn't take an idiot to figure that one. It doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to figure that one out. So what you did essentially was you made it, the shovel cost $4 more than it should have, because you want to quote-unquote penalize China, and the only person that actually took a hit on this was the person that actually physically bought the shovel. Now, it's not taxation in the direct sense, although the government still does take in that money because they're getting paid the tariff. It's not taxation in the traditional sense, however, it still results in the same situation where you have the government come in and trying to fix the market, and instead of fixing the market, the only person that actually gets bent over and fucked in the ass is the people of the United States. Now, you don't have to be a libertarian to see how this works. You don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist to figure out economics. Economics is not that difficult. It's 9 times out of 10, it's a supply and demand situation, where the only time that the supply and demand situation gets altered is when there is an outward force being applied upon it, in such cases as the United States government, Federal Reserve, state, local laws, etc., etc., etc. This is the reason why a lot of people, much such as myself, tend to lean more towards smaller government, or some people no government at all, but that's their own cup of tea. So when people applaud Trump for doing this, they're basically saying that I am totally fine with the federal government getting more of my hard-earned dollars, so long as I feel like China is getting punished in some way, shape, or form. Now, they may not see it that way, but that's how it plans out, because yeah, you're still buying. You still have people that are still going to go down to the store. They're not going to look. They're looking for fucking lawn care or yard equipment. They're going to be like, oh well, hey, this shovel's $19. That one's $20. They don't give a fuck where the fuck it's made. The reality of the situation, if you want to cure this, you want to cure the issue, the quote unquote issue that we have. It isn't to restrict the market more, it's to open the markets up, but also to tell people that they can vote with their dollar. I say vote with your dollar. It's a fucking manner of speaking. The people that really only want to buy from United States manufacturers, it should be up to them to decide what they buy, essentially who they buy their product from. And the government shouldn't have to come in and be like, oh well, you guys just keep buying Chinese shit, so we're just going to jack up the price of the Chinese shit. And then the Chinese manufacturer says, oh, we're just going to the government comes in and says we're going to charge them essentially to use our market, because that's what it is. And then the Chinese say, well, we can still jack up the price, cover the cost, and the only person that comes out on the bottom of this fucking pile is the people. They don't give a shit. In fact, the U.S. government, the federal government, had you convinced that they were doing this for the quote-unquote common good of the people, the reality of the situation is they just wanted to get fucking money out of you. But that's a conspiracy theory in of itself, and people probably think that I'm crazy. But am I wrong? Anyway, with that quick little video done, I just wanted to talk about this because I had seen a couple Twitter posts from the orange-colored man himself discussing this very topic. Now, keep in mind, when I bash Trump, I don't hate the fucking guy. All right. I still, if people ask me if I could go back in time and change my vote from Trump to somebody else, I wouldn't change it. I still stand behind the choices that I made. With that being said, I'm not saying that there isn't a single thing in this fucking world to judge the guy on. There are plenty of things to criticize him on. And if you're a member of the left and you're listening to this, a piece of advice: criticize him for his legitimate issues. Don't try to make him out like he's racist, he's bigoted, misogynist, because you have cried wolf on that topic so much that people don't even listen to it anymore. Criticize him for his idiotic spending habits, going and circumventing the Constitution, going around it just to get bills passed through, which is the exact same thing that Obama and fucking Bush did that everybody had such a problem with from their opposing sides respectively. So, with that said, rant over. I'm outie. For those of you listening that are still paying attention to this channel, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, and or night, and I will see you in the next one.